The world went dark for a moment, and then the sky lit up with alien laughter. It came through every screen, every device, every satellite. 100 faces appeared, strange, tall creatures with glowing eyes and sharp voices. They spoke in broken human language, their words filled with mockery. They called humans fire apes, weak animals playing with sticks, not ready for the stars. They laughed and said Earth was nothing, a planet of fools who would never rise beyond their small sky. Billions of humans watched, frozen in silence. The laughter cut deeper than any weapon. People in homes, offices, schools, and even soldiers in bunkers felt shame and anger boil inside them. For once, the world shared the same wound. The message was clear. Humanity was small and the galaxy was laughing. But in the shadows of that shame, leaders gathered in secret. In underground rooms, old enemies sat together. America, China, Russia, Europe, Africa, and Asia, nations that had once fought bitter wars, now sat under one roof. They all heard the same whispers, the name of an old forgotten project, Starforge. No one knew if it was just a myth or if it still existed. But tonight it became Earth's only hope. The next day, the world saw something no one expected. For the first time in history, rival nations stood under one flag. Soldiers from across the globe marched together. Scientists who had once competed now shared secrets. Engineers opened hidden vaults. Underground silos were no longer weapons of war against each other, but tools against the stars. The alien broadcast returned. This time the laughter was louder. The aliens mocked Earth again, calling them children with fire. They threatened invasion. They promised to burn cities to ash. The human leaders looked at one another and gave a single order: activate Starforge. In deserts, lights glowed under the sand. In oceans, hidden doors opened, revealing steel and fire. Mountains split as underground bases came alive. Their secret fleet began to rise. Starforge was real and it was vast. Humanity had hidden it for decades, preparing for the day someone came to chain them. Engines roared, weapons hummed, and war machines older than any living soldier stood ready. Yet the aliens still mocked them. When they saw the first ships rise, they laughed across the broadcast. Toys, they called them. Weak toys for weak apes, but then came the test. A single human weapon was fired. It did not aim at an alien. It struck the orbit of the moon. The moon shifted only slightly, but enough for the galaxy to see. Silence replaced laughter. The universe had just learned Earth's toys could move worlds. The aliens did not wait. They sent a fleet, small but deadly, to teach humans a lesson. Bright ships entered orbit, glowing with energy weapons. The world trembled, waiting for the end. But Earth was ready. The Starforge guns roared. Fire brighter than the sun tore across the sky. Alien ships burned one by one. Explosions lit up the heavens, and for the first time humans watched alien fire die. The entire battle was broadcast live, not by aliens but by humans themselves. Billions cheered, cried, and shouted as the invincible finally bled. Humanity realized something that night. They could win. But the galaxy was not done. The destruction of one fleet only fueled more. Alien reinforcements rushed in, larger and stronger. They came in waves, tearing through the atmosphere. Cities burned, oceans boiled, and millions died. Yet humanity did not break. Revenge became fuel. Every loss made the soldiers fight harder. Every destroyed city made the scientists work faster. For the first time, Earth was one body, one will, one fire. In the silence of deep space near Saturn, a hidden fleet prepared. No one on Earth knew it was there. It was the last piece of Starforge, the weapon of surprise. The alien fleets grew bold, pushing deeper. They thought victory was close. That was when Saturn lit up. Out of its rings rose the secret human fleet, hundreds of warships armed with weapons no alien had ever seen. They moved fast, burning like fire through the darkness. They struck the alien armada from behind, cutting it to pieces. Alien commanders screamed across the stars, unable to believe what they saw. These were no weak apes. These were creatures of fire who could shake the stars. Battles raged across planets and orbits, but slowly the tide turned. Human fire pushed alien shadows back. The galaxy finally began to fear Earth. Rumors spread from system to system. The apes are not weak. They are not children. They are fire itself. More alien fleets fell, and humanity stood taller with every victory. At last, Earth prepared its final answer. Across the stars, alien networks were hacked. Screens lit up not with alien laughter but with human eyes. A single voice spoke, strong and cold. "We are not weak apes. We are not children of fire. We are fire." The words echoed in every world, every fleet, every alien ear. Silence followed. No laughter. No mockery. For the first time, the galaxy was quiet. Aliens who had once laughed now whispered in fear. The fire apes had risen, and the stars themselves burned in their hands. Humanity had been mocked, shamed, and insulted. But in the end, the galaxy learned the truth. Earth was not a joke. Earth was the flame that would never die. The world did not sleep that night. After the alien broadcast, the laughter of strange voices still echoed in every home. People turned off their televisions, but the sound was burned into their memory. Families held each other. Soldiers sharpened their blades. Scientists stared at the sky in silence. The insult had not just cut into pride. It had shaken the very soul of the planet. Yet in that silence, something new began to grow. The old divisions that had split the world for centuries began to fade. For the first time, humanity was united by a single enemy. In the underground chambers of Geneva, leaders from across the globe gathered. The American president sat beside the Russian premier. The Chinese chairman spoke quietly with the European Council. African Union generals stood with Indian scientists. Old enemies stared at each other, but the weight of the alien insult was heavier than any past rivalry. At first, the room was filled with silence. Then the president broke it. "They think we are weak. They think we are children. Tell me, are we ready to show them otherwise?" The Russian premier leaned forward. His voice was cold but steady. "We have weapons, but weapons alone will not win. We need unity." The Chinese chairman nodded. "We have been preparing quietly, not just for aliens, but for each other. Now it is time to use everything we have." From the shadows, an old scientist rose. His hair was white, his eyes sharp with fire. He carried a single folder, worn and yellow. On the cover was a name that made the room still: Starforge. The scientist spoke, his voice low but powerful. "You all know this project was once considered a myth. It is not a myth, it is real. Buried under deserts, hidden in oceans, locked beneath mountains. The forge sleeps, but it can be awakened." The room stirred. Generals exchanged looks. Leaders whispered. Some feared it, some doubted it. But one thing was certain: without Starforge, Earth had no chance. That same day, messages were sent across the globe. Orders were signed. Rival armies received the same command: stand together. In deserts, secret silos opened. Engineers brushed dust off machines that had been sleeping for decades. In oceans, submarines rose, not for war between nations, but for survival of all mankind. In mountains, vast doors rumbled open, revealing hidden hangars. The Starforge began to breathe, but the aliens were not silent. Another broadcast came. The screens lit up again with their glowing eyes and sharp smiles. Their voices dripped with cruelty. "Fire apes," they mocked, "we see you gather. Do you think unity will save you? We are the children of the stars. You are dirt that crawls on a dying rock." They laughed louder, promising invasion. "When we arrive, we will burn your cities. Your oceans will boil. Your skies will fall. Prepare your fire, so we may crush it." The world listened, but this time the reaction was different. People did not tremble. They clenched their fists. They shouted back at the screens. They filled the streets, demanding to fight, demanding to rise. The insult had become fuel. In Africa, young engineers worked day and night, repairing machines older than their fathers. In Europe, scientists poured into laboratories, fusing physics and technology in ways never before imagined. In Asia, factories roared, building weapons faster than ever. In America, soldiers trained side by side with their former enemies, learning to fight as one. But unity came with cost. Some leaders feared betrayal. Old mistrust lingered. In secret corners, whispers grew. What if Starforge fell into the wrong hands? What if one nation tried to control it after victory? Yet even those whispers were drowned by the sound of alien laughter. There was no choice now. Either they stood together, or they burned together. The activation order was given. In the Sahara Desert, the ground split open. From the sand rose a black tower of steel, glowing with blue fire. In the Pacific Ocean, waves exploded as a massive structure emerged, its engines lighting the night. From the Himalayas, hangar doors opened, revealing ships shaped like spears. Across the planet, the Star Forge awoke. Humanity watched live broadcasts of these hidden giants rising, their hearts pounding. Hope and fear mixed as one. The aliens returned once more, mocking the sight. Toys, they sneered. Weak toys for weak apes. But the laughter was thinner now. Beneath their words was something else, doubt. They had not expected this. The fire apes were not bowing. They were preparing. In one last secret meeting, Earth's leaders stood again. The world trembled as the order was carried out. Across deserts, mountains, and oceans, humanity's greatest secret began to wake. For years, the project had been buried deep, hidden from the eyes of even most governments. Now the codes were unlocked, the doors opened, and the world saw what had been built in silence. In the Sahara Desert, the sands split open. A hidden runway larger than any city revealed itself. Machines that had slept for half a century powered on, their engines glowing like blue suns. From the depths, ships rose, black and silver shaped like blades, with wings that cut through the storm. People across Africa gathered on hills and rooftops, watching in awe as these giants rose into the sky. The air burned with the sound of engines older than their fathers, but stronger than anything they had ever seen. In the Pacific Ocean, the waves boiled. A massive hatch opened under the water, and from it rose a fortress of steel, taller than any skyscraper. It pushed aside the sea as if the ocean itself bowed to its power. From its sides, long cannons stretched out, glowing with fire. Entire fleets of submarines swam alongside it, not to protect it but to serve it. Above, satellites caught the images and broadcast them to the world. Children pointed at the screens, their eyes wide. Soldiers watched and felt pride replace fear. The forge was not a myth. It was real. In the Himalayas, mountains shook. Rocks fell as doors carved into the cliffs swung open. From deep inside the earth, hangars lit up. Dozens of ships rolled out, their armor thick, their engines screaming with fury. Pilots climbed aboard, many for the first time feeling the weight of history on their shoulders. Above them, the peaks glowed red from the fire of engines. Snow melted as the machines rose, their shadows stretching across valleys. Everywhere the forge was awakening, but the aliens were watching. Their voices filled the skies once more, mocking the sight. Toys, they laughed. Weak toys for weak apes. You think steel will save you? You think fire will burn us? We are eternal. You are nothing. Yet something was different. Their laughter sounded thinner now. The galaxy had seen the images too, and whispers spread from world to world. The fire apes were not kneeling. They were building. Inside a hidden base in Nevada, human leaders stood before giant screens, watching the awakening unfold. Scientists cheered as numbers flashed across monitors. Energy levels reached impossible heights. Engines roared with power never before unleashed. A single word appeared on every screen, online. But awakening the forge came with risk. The weapons were untested. The engines were unstable. Some feared the machines could destroy Earth itself if mishandled. In one desert test site, a massive cannon was powered for the first time. The ground shook and the air screamed. Soldiers and scientists watched in silence as it fired. A beam of light shot upward, crossing the sky in a flash. At first, nothing happened. Then the moon moved, just a fraction, but enough for satellites to detect it. For the first time in history, humanity had shifted a celestial body with its own hands. The reaction was instant. Across the world, people screamed, shouted, and cried. Pride flooded the streets. No alien could laugh away what they had just seen. Even the aliens themselves fell into silence. The so-called toys of the fire apes had just moved the heavens, but the danger was real. That single shot drained more energy than an entire city could produce in a year. Scientists warned that the forge was powerful, but every use came with a cost. Humanity was playing with fire that could burn even themselves. Still, no one hesitated. They had no choice. In orbit, satellites picked up strange movement. Alien fleets were gathering. Dozens of ships, sleek and sharp, were closing in on Earth. The invasion was coming faster than expected. The mockery had turned into action. The aliens were done laughing. They were ready to strike. Back in Geneva, Earth's leaders stood together again. This time there was no fear in their eyes, only fire. "We cannot wait," the president said. "They are coming." The Russian premier nodded. "Then let us greet them." The Chinese chairman added, "Star Forge is no longer sleeping. It is awake." "Let it roar," orders were given. Pilots climbed into cockpits. Soldiers loaded weapons. Engineers powered engines. Across the planet, the Forge prepared for its first battle. People gathered in streets and homes watching the live feeds. Children waved flags. Old men who had seen war whispered prayers. Mothers held their children close, telling them to watch carefully because history was about to change. Above the Earth, alien fleets moved closer, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Inside the human ships, pilots gripped their controls. Their hearts pounded, but they did not waver. They were not just fighting for nations anymore. They were fighting for humanity itself. The first human fleet began to rise from Earth's surface. Dozens of ships, black and silver, pierced the sky, their engines trailing fire. The people on the ground cheered as their defenders disappeared into the clouds. Above, the aliens laughed again, but there was unease in their tone. They had mocked the fire apes long enough. Now they were about to learn if fire could burn the stars. The Forge was awake. Humanity was ready, and the galaxy was watching. The alien fleet arrived like a storm. Dark shapes filled the skies above Earth, sharp and glowing with deadly light. There were 20 ships at first, each larger than the biggest human city. Their weapons pulsed with strange energy, ready to burn the world. The broadcast was everywhere again. Alien commanders, their eyes glowing like cold suns, spoke with cruel laughter. "We warned you, fire apes. Now we come to show you your place. Watch as your toys break. Watch as your fire dies." On the ground, billions watched in silence. Children clutched their parents' arms. Soldiers prepared for orders. Every camera in the world pointed upward. Humanity was about to face its first true battle against the stars. The order came. Human ships rose into the sky, their engines roaring like thunder. Dozens of them cut through the atmosphere, shining black and silver against the burning clouds. This was the Starforge's first breath of war. Inside the cockpits, pilots whispered to themselves, some praying, some swearing revenge, but none turning back. Their controls glowed, their weapons armed. The aliens were laughing still, mocking the size of the human fleet. "Is this all?" they sneered. "So few, so small." Then the first shot was fired. From the Sahara base, the great cannon lit up brighter than the sun. A beam of fire roared across the sky, slamming into the lead alien ship. The impact was so loud it shook the ground. For a moment, the alien ship held, glowing against the fire. Then it cracked. A sound like thunder rolled through the heavens as the giant vessel split in two. Pieces of alien steel burned as they fell through the atmosphere. The laughter on the alien broadcast stopped instantly. Silence followed. For the first time, an alien ship had been destroyed by human hands. The world erupted. Cities across the planet roared with cheers. Children screamed with joy. Soldiers shouted with pride. In that single moment, the shame of the broadcast was washed away. Humanity had struck back, but the battle had only begun. The alien fleet fired. Blinding energy poured down toward Earth. Human ships broke formation, dodging beams that could melt entire mountains. Some ships were hit, torn apart in seconds. Pilots screamed as their vessels burned in the sky. Families on the ground wept as they saw their defenders fall. The war was not victory yet, it was survival. Human ships retaliated. The sky lit up with fire. Dozens of missiles, beams, and cannon blasts struck alien shields. Some bounced off, but others broke through. Another alien ship exploded, its wreckage crashing into the ocean. The waves swallowed the burning metal, steam rising like smoke from a volcano. The battle was everywhere now, over deserts, seas, and cities. Above New York, human fighters engaged alien drones. Over Africa, cannons hidden in the Sahara fired relentlessly. In Asia, the mountains shook as weapons hidden in the Himalayas tore through alien formations. Humanity was fighting with everything it had. Inside the command room in Nevada, Earth's leaders stood together, their faces pale but steady. The president's voice was hard. "Hold the line. Do not let them through." The Russian premier slammed his fist on the table. "Show them what Earth is made of." The Chinese chairman leaned forward. "They will not laugh again." The alien broadcast returned, but the voices were different now. They were no longer laughing. They were angry. "I will pay for this insult," the commander hissed. "We will burn your world to ash." But the people of Earth no longer felt fear. They shouted back at the screens. They waved their flags. They sang, prayed, and cheered. The fire apes had drawn blood, and the galaxy had seen it live. The battle dragged on for hours. Human ships burned, alien ships fell. Both sides bled across the skies. Then came the moment that changed everything. A squadron of human fighters lured 2 alien ships into Earth's orbit, drawing them close to the Sahara cannon. The scientists fired again, this time with precision. The beam tore through both ships at once, cutting them apart like paper. The explosion lit up the night sky, seen by millions on the ground. The crowd watching erupted in madness. Strangers hugged in the streets. Soldiers raised their weapons high. Across the world, the cry rose, "We can win." And indeed, for the first time, humanity believed it. But the price was heavy. Cities smoldered where alien beams had struck. Thousands of lives were gone. Entire fleets were damaged. The war had entered its darkest hour. Alien fleets poured into the solar system like a storm of fire, their warships glowing with weapons far beyond what humans had ever seen before. They came in endless waves, and each one brought death. Earth's skies burned. Cities on the surface trembled with explosions, as alien drones rained destruction. Billions watched in terror as the broadcasts never stopped, alien voices mocking humans for fighting back. "Weak apes still trying to stand," the aliens sneered, their voices echoing across every hacked screen in every nation. But behind the fear, something else burned. It was not surrender. It was fury. Humanity had tasted victory in the first strike, and now even as they bled, they refused to bend. In underground bunkers and command centers, Earth's leaders studied the battles with tired eyes. Generals from rival nations sat side by side, sharing maps and intelligence, as if they had been allies for centuries. Soldiers who once wore different flags now carried one symbol, the mark of Earth itself. Scientists who had hidden secrets for decades now opened them, working day and night to strengthen Starforge weapons. Every human loss only hardened their will. People who had once distrusted each other now stood shoulder to shoulder. For the first time in history, Earth was not divided. It was one. Still, the cost was heavy. New York, Shanghai, Mumbai, London, great cities burned under alien fire. Millions were dead. Entire continents shook as orbital strikes struck power grids and communications towers. Yet in every corner of the globe, resistance grew stronger. Civilians became fighters. Old factories were converted into shipyards. Children carried water and supplies to bunkers. Humanity, mocked as fragile, showed the one truth the aliens never understood. Humans never stopped fighting. Amid this chaos, a new plan began to form. Hidden far from Earth, near the frozen world of Saturn, was a secret project known only to a few commanders. The fleet stationed there was small compared to the alien armadas, but it carried something different, an experimental weapon that had never been tested in open war. These were ships forged in silence, built with technologies reverse-engineered from fallen alien scouts. Their weapons were fierce, their shields untested, their engines unstable. But humanity had no choice. They could not fight forever from Earth's surface. They had to take the war back to the stars. Commanders debated in silence. Some argued they should wait, that the fleet near Saturn was too fragile, too new. Others shouted that waiting meant death. The aliens would not stop. Earth would be nothing but ash if they hesitated. Finally, the order was given. The secret fleet would strike. The moment would be chosen carefully, when the largest alien wave pushed into orbit and focused all attention on Earth. Then, from the shadows beyond Saturn, humanity would unleash its hidden fire. Days passed, and the war only grew worse. Alien warships descended closer, pounding Earth's defenses. The sky above the planet looked like a graveyard of broken ships, burning wrecks drifting in silence. Broadcasts from the aliens continued, their laughter filling the airwaves. But this time, humans no longer listened in silence. Across bunkers, across surviving cities, people shouted back. Soldiers carved messages into the sides of missiles. Pilots swore revenge before launching into hopeless battles. The world that was once humiliated now burned with unity. Then came the moment. Alien fleets locked their weapons on Earth, preparing for a final devastating strike, meant to break human will forever. The skies over the planet glowed with enemy fire. Civilians huddled in shelters, praying it would not be the end. But far away, beyond Saturn's icy rings, something stirred. Ships hidden in the dark lit up their engines. The secret fleet rose from the shadows like hunters waiting for prey. Their commanders gave the order, and human fire cut through the void. The aliens never expected it. Explosions ripped across their formations as human weapons struck from behind. Starforge technology, powered by stolen alien science and human fury, tore through shields that were thought to be indestructible. Alien warships that had mocked Earth fell burning into the darkness. The galaxy watched as live feeds captured the impossible, humans pushing back against fleets that had conquered countless worlds. On Earth, hope exploded like lightning. Soldiers cheered. Civilians wept. For the first time, the invincible aliens looked shaken. Their voices no longer mocked. Their broadcasts fell silent as commanders scrambled to understand what had just happened. Weak apes had built fire strong enough to burn stars. The battle was far from over, but everything had changed. Humanity had shown it could not only survive but strike. It was the turning point, the moment the galaxy would never forget. The war for Earth was no longer about defense. It was about revenge. Humanity had taken its first true step into the stars, and nothing would stop them now. The galaxy had been watching. Alien empires, once laughing at Earth's weakness, now sat in silence as the secret human fleet struck. The battle near Saturn was more than a fight. It was proof. Humanity, mocked as fire apes, had built weapons capable of shattering warships that had ruled the stars for centuries. The news spread fast. From distant colonies to the high councils of alien powers, whispers began to rise. The humans had fire. The humans had teeth. The humans would not kneel. But for Earth, victory came with blood. The alien invasion did not stop. Their fleets were massive, and though the ambush near Saturn had burned many of them, countless more pressed forward. Orbit around Earth became a graveyard of ships, both human and alien, drifting like broken bones in the void. Flames scarred the skies as debris fell to the surface. Still, humans kept fighting. No surrender. No retreat. Every loss only fueled their rage. In the command center of the Starforge network, generals and scientists stood together, staring at flickering maps of the solar system. Red markers showed alien fleets tightening their grip. Blue markers showed human resistance struggling to hold ground. "We cannot win by defense alone," one general said, his voice hard. "If we wait, we die." Another, his face pale with exhaustion, whispered the words no one wanted to say. "Then we must burn them first." And so, the order was given. The secret fleet near Saturn would not just defend, it would strike again, but this time deeper, into alien territory. Humanity would not wait to be slaughtered. Humanity would take the war to the stars. The preparations were brutal. Ships were patched with scrap metal. Pilots were sent out with half-tested weapons. Fuel was rationed. Civilians volunteered to fight, many of them with no training but with fire in their hearts. Entire nations opened their last reserves of energy, food and steel to keep the fleet alive. There was no turning back. Humanity had chosen its path. They would fight or they would die standing. Then the fleet moved. Like shadows breaking free from the dark, human warships cut across the void. Their engines burned bright against the black of space, their weapons glowing with new fire. At first, alien scouts laughed when they detected the humans coming. "The apes are running to their deaths," they said across open channels. But the laughter did not last. The first strike came like thunder. Human cannons roared, missiles streaked across the void, and alien cruisers were torn apart before they could react. Entire squadrons collapsed in flames. The galaxy trembled as the broadcast spread. For years, humans had been seen as weak, small, unworthy. Now the images showed something else. Human fleets burning across the stars, human soldiers refusing to fall, human weapons that roared louder than fear. The aliens who once mocked Earth now spoke in whispers. If they can do this so soon, what will they become? The war grew fiercer. Alien armadas swarmed to stop the humans, their war machines towering in numbers. Yet the humans fought with a madness the galaxy had never seen. They did not fight for conquest. They fought for survival, for vengeance, for a home that had been scarred but not broken. Every battle was desperate, every victory costly, but the humans pressed on. Where aliens expected surrender, they found fire. Near Jupiter, a massive clash erupted. Dozens of alien warships encircled the human fleet, their cannons ready to erase the intruders. But humans had prepared. Using the gravity of the planet, They launched a trap, slingshotting nuclear payloads hidden in cargo shells. The explosions shook space itself, blinding alien sensors and tearing ships apart. Human fighters darted in like wolves, tearing through survivors. When the smoke cleared, the battlefield belonged to Earth. News spread like wildfire, across distant stars. Oppressed alien species who had lived under fear for centuries began to listen. Some dared to hope. If the humans could wound the great invaders, maybe others could rise too. Humanity's fire was becoming something more. It was not just survival. It was inspiration, but the cost was heavy. Human ships were battered, fuel running low, ammunition scarce. Pilots returned with haunted eyes, many leaving friends behind in the cold silence of space. Commanders knew they could not fight forever like this, yet none of them spoke of surrender. Instead, they looked toward the enemy's heart. Somewhere deep in the stars, the alien war councils were watching, still believing they could break humanity with numbers. But the humans were planning something greater, a strike that would not just wound the enemy, but show the entire galaxy who they truly were. For now, the war burned on. Fire lit the solar system. Human fleets, once thought to be scraps of metal, now shone like blades. The war had reached a breaking point. The solar system was scarred, filled with the wrecks of both human and alien ships. Earth's skies were blackened from falling debris, but its people still stood. They were bloodied, exhausted, but unbroken. Every battle had shown the same truth. Humans would not kneel. They had been mocked, humiliated, called fire apes unworthy of space. But now the galaxy whispered a different word when it spoke of Earth. Danger. Alien war councils gathered in panic. Reports came from across the stars. Fleets lost, commanders dead. Colonies burned by human strikes. How could a species that had never left its home system suddenly stand against them? Some aliens demanded more fire, more fleets, more punishment. Others trembled, warning that the humans were not like other species. They were too fierce, too united, too dangerous to fight forever. Fear began to creep into voices that once dripped with arrogance. On Earth, leaders knew the truth. Humanity had won battles, but the war was not over. More fleets would come. The galaxy was watching. If they wanted to survive, if they wanted to make sure Earth was never mocked again, they had to do something greater than fighting. They had to speak. Not in whispers, not in fear, but to every world, every empire, every species that had laughed at them. Humanity had to show its fire. The plan was bold, almost impossible. Using the Starforge network, human scientists and hackers had been working for weeks, searching for a way to pierce alien communications. At last they had found it. A weakness buried deep in the alien networks, a hidden path through which Earth could send a message, not just to one world, but to the entire galaxy. It would take everything. Every satellite, every ship, every relay still alive, but it could be done. Humanity could speak where only aliens had spoken before. The moment came in silence. In a bunker beneath the ruins of what had once been London, leaders, soldiers, and scientists gathered around a glowing console. Generals stood in their uniforms, eyes hollow but proud. Civilians who had fought with bare hands stood at the back, waiting to hear the words. One leader, his voice steady despite the weight of history, gave the order. Begin the broadcast. Across the void, alien networks flickered. Screens, projectors, and transmissions on distant worlds suddenly changed. Where once alien commanders had laughed, now a human face appeared. The galaxy froze. Billions of eyes stared at the strange, scarred face of a species they had mocked. The silence was heavy, unbroken, as the human began to speak. "We are humanity," the voice said, calm but burning with fire. "You called us apes. You called us weak. You came to break us. But we are still here. You tried to drown us in fear. You tried to burn our cities. But we do not break. We rise." The words spread like lightning. On worlds where humans had been mocked as children of chaos, aliens leaned closer to listen. On colonies ruled by the same empire that attacked Earth, the oppressed dared to hope. On the high councils of great empires, rulers sat in silence, their claws and hands trembling as they watched. The human voice grew stronger. "You look at us and see a small world. You see a people who still fight each other, who still bleed, who still stumble. But what you do not see is what we are. We are fire. Fire that burns cities, yes, but also fire that forges steel. Fire that rises when all seems lost. Fire that spreads, unstoppable, untamed. You thought we were prey. You thought we would kneel, but hear us now, we will never kneel. We are not weak apes. We are fire. And then, without warning, the feed changed. Across the galaxy, images filled the screens. Human fleets rising from Saturn's shadows, alien warships burning under human fire, soldiers standing over the ruins, but still holding their weapons. Civilians carrying the wounded, children waving torn flags, the planet itself glowing with defiance. It was not just words, it was proof. Humanity had bled, but humanity had endured. The broadcast ended with silence. No threats, no begging. Just the final words that echoed in every alien hall, every council chamber, every battlefield. We are fire. When the transmission cut, the galaxy remained frozen. For the first time, there was no laughter, no mockery, only silence. In that silence, fear grew. Empires that had ruled for centuries now whispered of Earth with caution. Species that had suffered under alien boots began to speak of rebellion. And somewhere deep in the stars, commanders who had once mocked humans now planned with trembling claws, wondering if fighting Earth was the greatest mistake they had ever made. On Earth, the people stood together watching the skies. They knew fleets would still come, battles would still rage, but they were no longer the same species that had been mocked. They had risen. They had spoken. They had shown the galaxy the truth. Humanity was no longer hidden on a blue planet. Humanity was a fire burning across the stars, and the stars would never forget. The galaxy did not sleep after the broadcast. Entire civilizations stayed awake, watching the replay of the human message again and again. Words that were never meant to be spoken by weak apes now echoed in every hall. We are fire. For the first time in centuries, the great empires of the stars felt something they had forgotten: doubt. But fear did not mean surrender. The empire that had attacked Earth gathered its war councils. In the black chambers of their capital, alien generals hissed in anger. The humans are dangerous. Their fire must be extinguished before it spreads. Orders were given. A fleet 10 times larger than before would march toward Earth, not to mock, not to test, but to erase. They believed that if humanity's fire was crushed now, it would never rise again. On Earth, the broadcast had lit something different. People who had been hiding in bunkers stepped into the light. Soldiers who were broken by exhaustion rose once more. Children who had grown up under alien fire now shouted the words of the message with pride. Across every ruined city, across every scorched land, the people of Earth believed again. They knew the war was not over. They knew the enemy was coming. But they were no longer afraid. In orbit, the Starforge fleet repaired itself. Hulls were welded, weapons reloaded, engines reignited. Scientists pushed themselves beyond reason, unlocking alien technologies faster than ever before. New weapons appeared. Cannons that bent light, shields made of magnetic storms, missiles designed to shatter even the largest alien battleships. Humanity was no longer copying. Humanity was creating. Commanders gathered around holographic maps, their faces hard with resolve. Reports confirmed the worst. An enemy fleet was already on its way, larger than anything Earth had ever faced. If it reached the solar system, Earth would burn. "We cannot wait for them to strike us," one general said, pointing at the glowing map. "If we defend, we die. If we run, we die. But if we take the fight to them—" His voice trailed off, and everyone in the room felt the same fire. The plan was born. Humanity would not simply defend Earth again. They would carry their fire into alien space. The secret was no longer Saturn or Jupiter or hidden bases. The secret was Earth itself, its people, its unity, its rage. They would launch an attack not on the alien fleet, but on the alien heart. A strike at the capital, the throne of those who had mocked them. A strike so bold that no species would ever laugh at Earth again. The decision spread like wildfire. Across every ship, across every bunker, the message was repeated: "We are not waiting. We are going." Pilots who had flown until their eyes bled strapped in again. Civilians volunteered to carry supplies into orbit. Old ships, broken and battered, were patched up and sent into space. It was madness. It was suicide. But it was also hope. Humanity was about to show the galaxy that their fire did not stop at survival. It burned for victory. The journey began in silence. Fleets rose from Earth's atmosphere, engines blazing against the black. Hundreds of ships, some advanced, some barely holding together, cut across the void. At their head flew the most powerful vessels of the Starforge, glowing with the new weapons humanity had built. Behind them, smaller ships carried soldiers, engineers, and even volunteers who had never left their home planet before. It was more than a fleet. It was all of humanity rising together. The alien empires watched with disbelief. The humans were not cowering, not hiding. They were moving into the stars with fire in their hands. On distant worlds, some species cheered. Others trembled. In the alien capital, the War Council laughed in anger. "Let them come!" they hissed. "We will burn them in our sky." But the humans were not afraid. They remembered the first mockery, the laughter broadcast across their world. They remembered their cities burning, their families lost, and they remembered the fire they had unleashed in return. As the fleet cut deeper into alien space, soldiers whispered the words that had already become legend. "We are fire." For now, the war waited. The enemy's greatest fleet gathered near their capital. The humans flew closer with every passing day. The galaxy held its breath, caught between fear and hope. No one knew how the next battle would end. But one truth had already been written in the stars. Humanity would never be mocked again. The fire was spreading, and the galaxy had only seen the beginning.